Hey everyone, so let's talk about the iPad 10 here on the left versus the iPad Air 5 on the right here. And I think most people that are looking at these two, even side by side here, will not really be able to tell the difference between the two. Now, the iPad 10 is a little bit bigger. As you can see, it's a tiny bit bigger. It's also a tiny bit thicker as well. I can't really see it in this video, but it is a tiny bit thicker as well. And I would say the bezels are a tiny bit bigger too. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference in the way they look. The bigger difference is going to be in their internals. So the Air will have the M1 processor in it, whereas the iPad 10 will have the A14 processor in them. And both these processors are, of course, very good processors. Both these tablets are very fast. But of course, the M1 being the more expensive iPad is going to be just better. It's going to be a little bit better than the iPad 10. But again, I think this is something that most people are not going to notice unless you're doing some very heavy tasks. I really don't think most people are going to notice, especially if they do not have one side by side. So to kind of show this off, we are going to do some comparisons here. First one we're going to do is a web browsing test. So I'm just going to go to bestbuy.com. It's a little bit of a heavier website than other websites are. Again, the Air is over here. The 10 is on the left. I did not clear out my history. Both of these have been to this website before. We're going to just do the same thing on both of these. And again, for web browsing, there's not a whole lot of difference here, even on a heavier website. I know it's not the heaviest website, but it's a heavier website. For the most part, the Air should load in a little bit faster, but you're not talking much of a difference. And both are very fast. Next, I'm going to just do a very quick Roblox comparison here. And the reason why I'm doing Roblox is because Arsenal will show you FPS, the FPS counter on both of these. We will start off with the Air and we'll go to the 10. So again, starting off here with the Air, see graphic quality is up all the way. Go and hit up deploy, and the thing I want to show y'all is, well, it's very hard to see because it's all mixed together, but it is trying to go above 60 frames per second, but it is kind of locked to 60 frames per second or less. So again, this is running at 60 frames per second, and no matter what I do, it's going to keep being at 60 frames per second and try to go above that. I'm moving over here to the iPad 10. So the same exact thing, graphic quality is up all the way. And we'll just go into this, and again, it's kind of hard to see, but it's doing the same exact thing, trying to hit 60 frames per second, or go above 60 frames per second. Even the iPad 9 will do the same exact thing. It'll sit there and try to go above 60 frames per second, but these are locked to 60 frames per second. I don't think any tablet can actually go above that, because again, they are locked to 60 frames per second or below. And my point in that is that both of these are very similar in gaming. Even in other games, even more graphically intensive games. I mean, there are tablets out there, a lot of tablets out there, that cannot play even Roblox in max graphics or even at low graphics on some of them. So point is though, both these are very similar even in gaming. Next, we are going to show off the speakers. So both of them have dual speakers on either side. So we are going to do some royalty-free music here. Again, we will start off with the iPad Air 5. We're going to do the same song at about the 20-second mark here on YouTube. So it is decently loud and it does sound pretty good. Whereas we'll go over here to the iPad 10. One more thing to note too is iPad 10 does weigh a little bit more. I mean, it's still not heavy, but anyway. So we'll go over here to the iPad 10. Turn up the volume all the way. Again, same song at about 20-second mark. So it basically sounds about the same. Honestly, I don't really notice any difference between the two. They both get decently loud, and they both do sound pretty good. If you want the best speakers on an iPad, you'll have to step up to the Pros. They are, especially the Pro 12-inch iPads. That one is incredibly loud. So I guess the point of this video is there's not a whole lot of difference between a base model iPad like the iPad 10 and then the the iPad Air 5 here. Yes, this does have a technically better processor in it, but I don't think most people are going to notice the difference unless, again, you're doing something very heavy, some sort of heavy task. I do still think that the base model iPads are incredibly good for what they are. And they're incredibly good even compared to more expensive iPads or more expensive tablets. The base model iPad, I think, is fine for most people. But you all can let me know what you think. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a good one. See you next time. Goodbye.